Welcome to my second watercolor painting tutorial. In this video, I'll be featuring how to create beautiful brush strokes. I will show you how to apply the paint to the paper, how to deal with the paint-water ratio, and how to vary the edges of your brush strokes. Let's have a look at how to apply the paint to the paper. There are many ways to do this. I've got some gorgeous leaves here, autumn leaves, for something to paint. Look at the colours, they're so beautiful. I've been collecting them in my garden. Now let's spray the paint to activate it. Get some real juicy paint going here, and then I wet my brush and wipe it on my sponge and take up a bit of colour and a bit of water. A mixture of alizarin crimson and burnt sienna. Right, there we go. Now, painting on the paper, don't just do little strokes like this. You want to use the body of the brush, so you want to press down and move your brush around, so you have like maximum coverage. See what I'm doing there? This is all wet now, so you can sort of come back into that. I just want to show you painting a leaf in a single stroke. I'm going to paint the stalk, and then I'm going to press down and twist my brush around and then come up again. There we go. So there we go. And then you can move the board around for gravity. Let your paint run down into your stroke. There we go. I'll do another one. Yeah, do my stalk, press down and come up again. And do all sorts of shapes. It's great, it's fantastic. So that's with this brush, this lovely squirrel mop brush that I've got here. I love it. I have another squirrel brush called a sword brush, and it also creates some very interesting shapes with it. Let me just get some paint. There we go. If you kind of have a look at this brush, you can do all sorts of interesting, you can move the brush around and create some really interesting shapes and brush strokes. There's another brush stroke called a dry brush stroke. I'm going to wet this brush and then I'm going to wipe it off with my cloth, so it's just damp, and I'm going to pick up some paint, and then I'm going to come across the paper, and so it's flat, and I'm just going to skim across the paper. Helps if I get enough paint on it, doesn't it? What you can see is the paint hangs about on the top of the bumps in the paper, and in the hollows it skims over the white paper, leaving these lovely sparkly effects. It's gorgeous for painting water. That's called a dry brush stroke. Then you can get what you call like I call it a broken stroke. I've got this brush, which is an old brush, and I've kind of forced the hairs apart like this. Now I'm going to wet it, dry it again on my cloth, and then open it up a bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint against the grain, and it creates some very interesting shapes. I use it for trees and things like that. Let me just show you. You actually going like this. I don't think it's very good for the hairs on your brushes, but it actually creates some really, you're scrubbing really, aren't you? But you're pushing it up so that it creates some interesting edges like this. Now is a good time to talk about your paint to water ratio. Let's mix up a lovely puddle of paint here in my well. You can see that. I'm going to put lots of water in here. It's already a bit pink anyway. Let's take some clean water. Then let's take some paint from the well. Now we're mixing up a really diluted wash here. And sometimes it's really good for painting backgrounds. let me show you over here an example of, move it over a bit, there we go, diluted paint. There we go, see that? Now I want to mix a mid-tone, so I'm going to rinse my brush, wipe it a bit on my cloth, and take some more paint in this well here, and it's going to be less water and obviously more paint, so it's slightly more creamy. There we go. And I'll paint it here. As you can see, it's slightly darker, it's a mid-tone. Now there are times when I want really dark paint, when I want to create darks, or if I want to, when it's the lighter colors, to be more vibrant. I'm going to rinse my brush off, wipe it on my cloth, and then go for really strong, show you here, just the paint in the paint well, or even from your tube. I'm going to paint it. There we go. So there you have your full strength paint. You have a lot of variations in between, but it's really useful. I'll show you here. I will use the diluted version to paint some of this leaf. Let's put a little bit of, so we're going to make it, it's going to be very light. We can even do lots of little edges that are really nice there. So that is the diluted part, and then we can have a little bit more a mid-tone to come in here along the edge of the leaf. Then let's go for a little bit of full strength paint. Brush strokes all have edges, and if you can vary your edges in your paintings become alive. As you put down some paint, I'm just going to paint this side of the leaf here. Here we go. Now, as that dries, those edges will all remain quite hard. As you can see here, hard edges all around. What is a good thing to do is to be able to soften some of those edges. So what I do is I wet my brush and I dry it on my little cloth, so your brush is just slightly damp, and then come along the side that you want to actually soften with your brush, and you just touch the edge. Now the paint is still wet, you can't do this when it's dry, and I just touch along the edge of there. Do it again, wipe it. And it creates a soft, hopefully, soft edge there. There's no hard edge. I'll put too much water there then. See that? It just creates a soft edge. Now, a really nice thing in watercolor is to do what you call a broken edge. It's where you leave some bits hard and you soften some, and it creates a lovely look in the painting. So again, I'm going to wipe my brush, take off the excess moisture, and I'm going to leave some of this hard, that bit hard, and then I'm just going to touch the brush here and let it tease the paint into this area, which will be a background area. Okay, and you can even give it a bit of a dab. There we go. So you get some interesting little things happening along the side of your leaf here. Let me do some here, and then I'll, as if I'm coming out into the background and drawing some of the paint out of there. We'll deal with this more in a future video, but I like that. And yet you can still see the leaf shape, but there's some merging going on around the edges. I hope you found this video helpful. Do tune into my next video that will deal with a variety of washes for your paintings. You will find a list of materials in the description area below, and please click on the subscribe button so that you can be notified of future videos.